go one up. Third gear. And that was at 4,500 RPM.
Good afternoon, I'm Scott and I'm a friend of Invictus Motors, and I just want to give you a very brief presentation on this Maserati 4.2, which has got the lovely Ferrari derived 4.2 V8. Predecessor to this vehicle I actually owned myself, a manual 3.200, this one being the automatic gearbox. Very nice particular example, it drives extremely well. Yes, the gearbox is slightly clunky at low speed, especially when it goes from second at a junction into first. However, it's something that we all know from driving vehicles of this generation. It reminds me in that aspect of my M5 that I had. So more on this particular vehicle then. We took this as a rather strange trade-in with a group of cars, didn't really know what we were getting. It was actually liquid sprayed, the first time that we've come across the liquid spray in a matte black. Really didn't suit the vehicle itself, so been a bit of a labour of love the last couple of days taking the actual liquid wrap off. There is still a few aspects, it hasn't gone through its final detail yet. But I did take the car out yesterday and I was very, very impressed actually at just the way that it drove and the response from the engine, certainly in comparison to my 3.200, which I did enjoy. It wasn't as gutsy as I would hope. However, this particular F136, again, as I said before, Ferrari derived V8, naturally aspirated, it is a step forward, a real step forward in comparison. Now this particular one I think has been not well, I wouldn't say tuned, definitely got a Sporks exhaust on it, really does pull. 385 brake standard I believe. It's definitely got all of that, if not a little bit more. Underneath the wrap we were extremely pleased to find beautiful bodywork all the way throughout the vehicle. This particular one is here in Invictus Motors for sale, so you know, we took a gamble with that wrap being on it. As we've taken it off, very, very pleasantly surprised with the actual vehicle itself. Don't know what they actually call this particular colour, I haven't looked that up yet. However, once it's gone through its final detail, I think for the age of this car on a 03 plate, the paintwork really does stand out. There'll do some more interior shots in a bit, and again I haven't researched the colour of the interior, but for me I would call it a baseball mitten brown, as the closest that I can think off the top of my head. Okay, so moving on to the interior. For the age of the vehicle it's extremely well appointed, this particular car. It has a two-way adjustable memory heated seats. The leather is in extremely good condition. The bolsters here are not very worn. Nice carbon insert, so you can see on the door on that side, and the carpets again in that traditional style with the piping around the floor mats. Moving into the back of the vehicle, I'd be very surprised if these seats have actually ever been sat in, and they do give you plenty of room for short journeys for even adults. Probably a lot more than a Porsche 911, and it certainly was a grand tourer of its time, and it fits the bill. You can put some decent luggage in it, you can put a family in it and go off and have a good time, that is for sure. So some of the other features that I quite like about this vehicle that I wish I even had in my modern vehicle that have gone: when you select reverse, the mirrors dip down, and again as you put it back into first they come back up again. Lots of the other features in there with the selected manual gearbox that we have. Instrument cluster here is quite tidy with a small reverse, and then everything is done through the paddles. Paddles are not attached to the steering wheel, so you can do the full turn without the actual steering wheel going, and a nice carbon touch on this one. A few bits and pieces are showing its age. This airbag cover here, the leather, it is worn ever so slightly and peeling away, but again, you know, it's just a sign of the time, and the rest of the interior is extremely nice. Classic Maserati clock, and it does actually work. Again, all the stitching all of this here is extremely tight. When we were out in it yesterday, we were surprised at just how tight it was, and there was no untoward squeaks or rattles from it at all. The Alcantara headlining is one of the nicest features that I actually think about this. It does remind me of my one, and this one is extremely tight for the age, no sagging. Really nice interior. May not be everyone's colour choice, but I think with the gunmetal grey on the outside, it does work nicely. So what we're going to do is show you that, or let you listen to that sports exhaust as I start it up. Extremely throaty. And thank you for watching this brief introduction to the Maserati that we have here at Invictus Motors. We're going to finish the detail and some of the other bits and pieces with the car and do a more comprehensive review out on the road. Thank you very much, and please do subscribe if you enjoy these videos.
Scott has talked about the history and the pedigree of this Maserati Cambio Corsa. Let's get behind the wheel and find out what it feels like to drive and sounds. As soon as you step onto the inside of this car, you know you're into something very special. And what I love about it is the fact you've got all these gauges here at the front that tells you everything you really need to know about this car. From the temperature of the oil, the engine temperature, battery voltage, fuel, revs meter, and the speedo. So it's all in front of us. Very easy to drive in the auto. Simply turn the key, it's fired up. You get this beautiful raw sound. Sensational. And as we're in neutral, there isn't like a gear selector there to put it in first. You simply have got to put the up paddle shift, one up, get it into first. I've deactivated auto because I'd like to drive it in manual. And it produces a very beautiful visceral sound from the exhaust system. Obviously this isn't the standard exhaust system that you get from factory. Go up a gear, second gear now. And what a sound it produces on the downshift. We're in second gear, let's get it up to the third. We have this beautiful straight. Dropping back down to second gear. And on the downshift, you have beautiful pop and bang. You know, it's an incredible sound from the exhaust. Back to the first gear. Go up 1 second. Stay in second. Let's go one up. Third gear. And that was at 4,500 RPM. And spec-wise, this has an incredible spec. I mean, obviously the carbon fiber steering wheel, which is definitely worth a fair bit of money. This is the 6-speed auto transmission, which is something really good to drive in and just feel like you're part of the fabric when it comes to driving one of these, because they do need an input from you. What we didn't really get to press was the sports button, so it does change from the throttle response you get. God, let me put in neutral. Phenomenal sound. I mean, if you're on the market for one of these, honestly, this Maserati is something incredibly special. Every time I've taken it out of the showroom, it's put a bright smile on my face. Pretty much everything works on it, including the air conditioning, all the buttons, everything is exactly where it should be. So if you're looking for a good, well-maintained, pristine-looking, Maserati, here's one. So thank you, and see you in the next video.